Hi, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Litter Media Live. This is a special edition. I'm your host, Mike Smith. Today we're talking with Eric Gunnoe, Johna Pulver, and Bob Leach, here to promote a volunteer effort to clean veterans' gravestones at Greenlawn Cemetery in Chillicothe on May the 11th. We'll be back to talk with more about that in a moment. Brought to you by Kingston National Bank.
Wherever you are there for a reason. You shouldn't have to make a trip to the branch just to deposit a check. Skip the trip and use our mobile app to easily and securely deposit checks from your phone. Day or night, wherever you are, or whatever you're doing, download the Kingston National Bank Mobility app today.
Welcome back. This is a call to action, Eric.
Yes.
And this is going to take place at 10 a.m. on May the 11th, just on the outskirts of Chillicothe here.
At Greenlawn Cemetery and Soldiers Circle, and we're going to clean approximately 600 veteran headstones.
Wow. How long has it been since many of these stones have been cleaned?
Jonah?
Do you know the answer to that? No.
The last, I knew I should have put my notes in front of me. What was it,
28.
28 was the last record I could find where any major restoration or cleaning was done in the circle.
Now speak up there, lean in a little bit. You said 1928.
That was the last record I could find.
Almost 100 years ago.
Yes. Now we've done some small things.
Yeah.
We had a friend of Mr. Leach's and I, and my brother redid the flagpole display last year, and we've been slowly cleaning the graves just in the last 16 months or so.
Yeah.
Started.
Now, Greenlawn Cemetery in Chillicothe, that's whose responsibility? Typically?
Ultimately, it's the Ross County Veterans Office.
So it's not run by a township or the city?
Well, it's a Scioto Township, and of course, Ross County Commissioners. But many, many years ago, well, to begin with, they turned it over, gave jurisdiction to the GAR. Mm-hmm. Well, and as that phased out, it ended up in the hands of the Ross County Soldiers and Sailors Relief Commission, which of course is now the County Veterans Office.
Right. Bob Leach, what era of veterans are in this circle?
I guess. So the Veterans Circle was started in the late 1800s after the Civil War. So the earliest graves there are Civil War veterans who came back to Chillicothe and died after the Civil War. And because it's located where it is, every war since then is represented. So we have veterans from the Spanish-American War who are buried in Soldiers Circle. From the World War I era, not only do we have some World War I veterans that are buried there, but there are soldiers who died at Camp Sherman during the flu epidemic whose families could not be located or afford to have them buried once they would have been returned to their homes. So there are 21 victims of the Spanish flu that are buried in Soldiers Circle, including one unknown soldier. There was so much confusion with Camp Sherman losing over 1,000 soldiers within a 6-week time frame that there was one poor soul who was not identified and is buried there that says unknown soldier, Camp Sherman. Of course, we also have veterans of World War II, Korea, and Vietnam that are buried in Soldiers Circle in Greenlawn Cemetery. Soldiers Circle had its last burial in 1987, and that precludes any veterans of our later wars, Afghanistan, Iraq, and things like that.
So while most of the veterans that are buried there were probably native to our area, as you have pointed out, there are some that probably were not even Ohioans.
Yes, indeed. So those Camp Sherman soldiers could have been, most of the Camp Sherman trainees were Ohio, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, Kentucky. So there could be some that were from out of state that are buried in Soldiers Circle.
Eric, over time, when a gravestone is not maintained or clean, what are some of the things that happens to it?
Well, black algae, lichen, dirt, filth, imagine not getting a bath for 100 years, what you would look like.
Yeah.
So we are going to, there's rules on how to clean a government headstone. We have paint sticks that we're going to scrub the lichen off and algae off. That's safe. We're going to use nylon brushes, nothing steel, no bleach, nothing that will harm the stone. And then I use a product, it's called D2 Biological Cleaner. We're going to put this on and use a lot of elbow grease, scrubbing on there. The volunteers will have sore arms the next day. I would say that it'll take 15 to 20 minutes per headstone to clean the right way. And the cool thing about the D2 Biological Cleaner is when we're done, it'll look clean, but over time it keeps working, and in 3 months those things will be shining bright white.
By the way, Eric, of course, with Chillicothe Monument, so this is your wheelhouse, so to speak. You know this.
Yes, some people I've talked to in the industry told me, "Are you crazy?" Memorial Day for us is the Black Friday of, shopping, this, that. It is our holiday. And I have 160 some orders to get out, 150 data deaths to do. This is our busy time. We're waiting for the weather to start turning. And I decided that, we've been 9 years here in Chillicothe, and I wanted to give back to the community. I talked to them a couple times about, they had asked me to price cleaning this, and this came up, and I'm like, this is what we're going to do. We're going to volunteer to do this.
And I'd like to add to that, in addition to the lichen and things like that Eric mentioned, Soldier Circle is adjacent to a paper mill, and many of our older residents will remember the residue that would be on their cars, their houses, and things like that.
Oh, wow.
So you got decades and decades of the residue from the paper process that was landing on these headstones. And the importance of when we're doing it, as you said, Memorial Day is coming up. 1 week after this project, the veterans of foreign wars and several youth groups will be getting together to put a new flag on every grave, not just in Soldier's Circle, but in an entire Greenlawn Cemetery. We're talking about 4,000 flags or so. And then, of course, a week after that is Memorial Day. And on the 2nd of June, the Chillicothe Restoration Foundation is planning on a tour of that cemetery where people can visit and see not just those graves in Soldier's Circle, but also Soldier's Square, the Denowitz brothers' grave that's not part of the circle, but is located in Greenlawn Cemetery. So there are a lot of things that happen within a month after when Eric is in charge of this project to clean these headstones.
So this call to action, again, is May 11th. That's a Saturday, correct? At 10 a.m. And you're just looking for volunteers. Now, with anything, people have schedules. What kind of time commitment do you anticipate this project being that day?
Well, currently we have 50 volunteers already signed up, which I'm very pleased with. We contacted the National Honor Societies at, I think, Unioda, Chillicothe, and Zane Trace. We've got kids. They all need volunteer hours. And if we have 75, I'm hoping 3 hours. I think we can get a lot of them. We can get them completed in 3 to 4 hours. Yeah.
And we are planning on a lunch at the end of that time to thank the volunteers for the time that they've put in.
Now, Johna, do the volunteers need to have any kind of equipment, or wear gloves? What do they need to bring with them other than themselves?
Yeah, I think that's a better question.
Yes. So right now I have been collecting buckets, purchasing the scrub brushes. I went to Sherwin-Williams. They gave me the paint stirrers yesterday, and I'm trying to provide everything that we can. Obviously, if you can bring gloves, rubber gloves, that'd be great, because you will get
Or your own bucket, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, you bring your bucket, but right now I'm trying to provide everything for the volunteer. Just show up. Sports Plus next door, we're allowed to park there on Saturday. I'm going to have a little golf cart bringing people back and forth. I'm hoping to have too many volunteers, if that's a word.
So that was the next question. The volunteers that come, they shouldn't park in the cemetery, but over, or can they do both?
You can do both on next to Soldier Circle. The headstones are real close to the road, so you can't pull over. And if you go over there and park, you're going to be stuck until the person in front of you is gone, or vice versa.
And there's additional parking over by the square too. If they would rather do that, or if we need extra space.
But it'll be a shorter walk for people from the
much
parking
shorter.
lot across the street than from where they'd park on one of the cemetery roads because they are so narrow.
And you said, Bob, there's over 600 grave sites there?
Yes, indeed. We have, I think, the number within the circle itself that is elongated on some of the corners, so it's not a perfect circle, is 545, and then near to Soldiers Circle are some government headstones of Civil War era veterans who were buried like next to a family member or something like that. And so Eric says we'll be able to go get those as well. So that's where we're coming up with a total of 600.
Is this a rain or shine event?
I think both, right?
Right now it is, yes.
Okay, unless there's lightning or something severe.
I don't believe if it's raining really hard that the D2 biological solution, it'll help that. It'd be diluted.
Right.
So.
And if you joined the interview late, Eric, you mentioned earlier, this material that you're putting on the gravestones to clean it, it continues to work after you've gone. So don't think, well, gee whiz, I didn't do much good there, because it's going to keep working after you've left.
It's an amazing product, and it is approved by the. It's safe. It's safe for the ground. It is. It's what we have to use, and it's a great product.
Okay, I think we've been showing some of the video, Aaron, as we were talking about cleaning the gravestones. Last question. If you have you said you've got about 50 volunteers thus far. You'd like to get, maybe 25 or more.
Oh, yes.
Do they need to contact you if they want to volunteer?
Yes, I have a sign up on our flyer, and also it's a Google sign up form, and I can send it to anyone on that. It's just helping us know how many we're getting. I mean, now that
to bring.
Yeah, right now,
And
the fact that I've got 50 signed up, I'm making supplies for at least 100.
Yeah.
And exactly 1 week later, on May the 18th, is the flagging of the graves. Anybody can show up at any time without notification, although that's at 9 o'clock on Saturday the 18th as opposed to 10 o'clock on the 11th.
Right. This announcement that I'm holding up there, that's been showing up on a lot of the social media sites, and there's a QR code on it. Eric, if they scan on that, is that the registration?
It is. Yes.
Okay. Very good. And if you're not tech savvy,
get a hold of me. It's
at
on the
Chillicothe
flyer.
Monument?
Yep, and I will text you, email you, or just write down your information and put it down for myself.
Very good. Bob, you had something you want to add? Or how about you, Johna?
I would like to remind everybody too that the last Saturday of May, the American Legion Post 62 will be flagging Grandview at 9 o'clock. They meet at the gazebo, and they can always use volunteers to help flag there, at which they do the week after we do the circle, or after we do Greenlawn.
Right. Very good.
And the VFW is graciously offered to provide lunch for the volunteers for
great.
cleaning the headstones. And I guess that's it. And I just wanted to thank Eric so much because, I tried to do this on my own and it wasn't working out.
Well, that's why we call it a team effort.
Yes, yeah.
And again, this call to action is for Greenlawn Cemetery in Chillicothe. That's for May the 11th at 10 a.m. If you would like to volunteer, get a hold of the folks at Chillicothe Monument ahead of time. Or if you see that poster, and again, we'll kick it out again on our social media, because since the first time we did it, you've added the time of 10 a.m.
And the sign up.
And Eric said that they're approximating the time to do this about 2 or 3 hours. So, if you want to volunteer, just make sure you notch that in to the time. By the way, for those that might be listening to this later on our Litter Media radio feed, audio feed, Chillicothe Monument and Hardy Memorials, their number is area code 937-981-2566. That's 937-981-2566. Or you can email Eric, that's ERIC, at chillicothemonument.com. Folks, thanks for what you're doing for our veterans who served so honorably. Again, our Litter Media Live Special Edition today, brought to you by Kingston National Bank, has been with Eric Gunnoe, Johna Pulver, and also Bob Leach. Of course, Johna and Bob are with the Ross County Veterans Service Office, which is at the Ross County Service Center.
Yes, sir. Suite C.
Yeah, and of course, Eric Gunnoe of Chillicothe Monuments. They've been our guests today on Litter Media Live Special Edition. I'm Mike Smith.